All right, this is test 0. We are looking at doing object-oriented things in C#. And as a reminder, you remember that since this is a test, that you are working on it individually, / we're working on it together in this classroom. So the way that I have it ordered in the doc is with inheritance first. The inheritance part and the interfaces part are really implementing the same set of features, but doing it 2 different ways. One way we're achieving polymorphism, this kind of dynamic behavior through subclasses. That is, we have a superclass that's abstract called throwable object, and we have a paper, rock, and a scissors that are children classes of that. The interface way, by comparison, we have an interface called iThrowable, and then we have 4 classes actually, because there's Chuck Norris, that implement that interface. Remember, implementing an interface is making a promise to the compiler. You're saying, when you implement an interface, you're saying, I promise to give definitions, to give bodies, to give implementations of all of the properties and methods defined in the interface. I promise to make them complete. So that's what's going on. For us, we have a property name, a property emoji, and a method dual that are in our interface. And similarly, those are basically the things that are in our throwable object: name, emoji, dual, and we also have toString. Okay. So as we're starting this, if we're going to look at interfaces first, inheritance first, inheritance. If you look at throwable object, that is the top of the class hierarchy. So I would like to go ahead and make this guy, and I want to make a public class called throwable object. Remember that I said up front, this throwable object is an abstract class. So that kind of gives away what keyword needs to go here. So this is a public abstract class called throwable object. Because it's abstract, once we've labeled it as abstract, we've said you cannot instantiate one of these throwable objects. It's just an organizational class that gives us a high-level structure that's incomplete that must be subclassed. Right? So an abstract class means you gotta inherit from this and provide some meaning that's not there. So let's look at the things that we don't have meaning for. We don't have meanings for name, emoji, dual, and toString. I guess we have toString because we always inherit it, but we're going to want to override it. Okay, so we have these 2 properties: public string name and public string emoji. So now let's think about it. Does the implementation of the name property change in the subclass? When we create a paper, where paper is a throwable object and inherits, what would we do differently to have a name property? Is there any logic associated with the name property? We're just getting and setting it, but you see what I mean? There's no fanciness to these properties. They don't do any validation, anything like that. So that means, in this case, these 2 methods, these 2 properties, we actually know how to implement them in the abstract superclass, which is nice, because now we won't have to redo that. We'll have to re-implement those. What we don't know, the thing that is different among all of the children, rock, paper, scissors, of the throwable object is that dual method. And let me make sure I get this right. This should return an outcome. It should be called dual. It should take in a throwable object. And I have already noted that this is an abstract method. So what that will look like is, this is a public, returns an outcome, it's called dual, takes in a throwable object, and it's going to be abstract. Let me emphasize why this is going to be abstract. If we have a throwable object, does the throwable object, if you have a throwable object and you give it a paper, you dual a throwable object and a paper, does the throwable object win, lose, or tie? We have no idea. It depends what it is. So at this moment in throwable object, there's no way we can know the outcome. So that's why we get to label this as abstract. And when we label it as abstract, semicolon at the end of that, I've now said I'm not giving the definition, the implementation, the body of that method. The child class is going to have to fill that in. Does that make sense? This is the beauty of an abstract class. We're saying this class is not complete, and you're going to have to complete it when you subclass it. The other thing that we said here is that this should have a toString, which should be an overridden thing because we inherit string from object to string from object, and it's just going to return the emoji as a string. Does this need to be abstract? Which is saying, do we know how to return the emoji in the throwable object? It's just the emoji. It's not different whether it's paper or rock or scissors. Does that make sense? Like we actually, at this abstract superclass level, this isn't an abstract method, is really what I'm saying. We know how to do it, even at the top level. And do you see why this is going to be nice? Paper, rock, and scissors are not going to have to provide a toString because they're going to inherit this one, and it's going to work for them. So we're going to have a public, I think we have to say override, string to string. Remember this pattern? So we want to have a cleaner, fancier, more customized toString. So in this, I don't want to return base.toString. Base is calling my superclass's toString method. This is what it would do by default. I just want to return the emoji. That's the whole thing. That's it. Is this readable? Like I can zoom in, or I can go light mode if you want. I think light mode is more readable in this room. But it's going to burn your eyes. You're welcome to scoot up. I know that would be the worst thing ever because no one wants to sit in the front row, except for these two fine gentlemen. Okay, so I think I have actually now, we're almost done with throwable object. We skipped over this constructor. What's a constructor again? It does construct. Can you define constructor without saying the word construct? No, it's impossible. What's a constructor do in object-oriented terms? Anything? I mean, it does construct, but something about setup, yeah. Constructor is a method-like thing. It's like a method, but there's only one time when it's called. When is it called? When the class is instantiated, when you're making a new object, when you're initializing, instantiating, this is when the constructor is called. There's actually a shortcut snippet for this, CTOR. If you type in CTOR, it will fill in the constructor because it always has to take this format. It's always public. Well, I guess you could make private constructors, but typically we're going to make public constructors so they're actually usable from outside the class. It's always the name of the class, throwable object, and then there are parameters that get passed in. I believe I said here the parameters, we want to pass in string emoji. So we're going to pass in the emoji for this throwable object. don't copy paste this. I'm afraid, I think these are special quotes, not regular quotes. They're like special quotes, and they're not the right character in VS Code. So what I'm saying here is, sorry, I need a name for this. Spell it right. Emoji. Is that right? That doesn't look right. That's right, isn't it? It just doesn't. Yes. So what I want to say is when you pass in the emoji, so it's going to be a paper emoji, a rock emoji, a scissors emoji, I want to say capital E emoji, which is my property, is equal to little e emoji, which is the string that I passed in. Does that make sense? So now when you create the throwable object, you can pass in the emoji. If you don't pass in an emoji, it's going to use the default value. And what is the default value? Nothing, the empty string. So this is sort of a convenience constructor, which basically it could be empty or we could pass in a string. It should be an emoji. We're not checking it to make sure it's only one. That would be a good thing to add though, wouldn't it? Garrett, you feeling that? You guys. So what if we said we're going to actually implement, oh yeah, let's make the test better this year. I want to have a getter and a setter that are actually custom made. The tests aren't going to test this yet, but I can make some more tests for that. So I want to have a, not public, I want to have a private string little e emoji. So this is going to be the backing field for the property. Are you with me? Backing field. This is what actually stores it. The property emoji here in the getter, we're just going to return emoji. Little e emoji, which is whatever we've stored. In the setter, this is where we want to run our logic. All right, how hardcore do you want to be? My two options are, if the user passes in more than one character, we reject it and like throw an error. We throw an exception. I would like to be a little bit more, I mean, yes, probably. I don't know, there's something about this that feels more flexible to me. I'm also not 100% sure that emojis are character objects. This bring up a good point. Well, you ready? Do you want to ask the source? In C#, are emojis char or string? We're making ChatGPT think hard. This is a hard question. The answer is a bit subtle. A char in C# represents a UTF-16 code unit, a 16-bit value. Many emojis are outside the basic multilingual plane, never heard of that, meaning they require two UTF-16 code units, a surrogate pair, representing a single emoji. Because of that, most emojis cannot be stored in a single character. Instead, they're represented by a string of length 2 or more, depending on the emoji. So even though this looks like one character, its length is 2 because it takes 2 of these core units. Some emojis are actually combinations of multiple code points, like the family emoji, that's 7 characters long. What? But it's still displayed as a single glyph by the system. Hey, so my gut was right, but it was complicated. I'm glad to know this. Do you see what they're saying? That even though it looks like it is a single glyph on the screen graphically, deep down it's stored in more than one character. So we should keep those as strings. Okay, well then that may break this. I kind of want to say here, oh, how's that going to work? Surely the string will work correctly. I don't know. Let's try it. I want to say whatever they pass in, I'm just going to take the first character. So I wonder if I can say value is, no, not value. Emoji is what our backing field is. So I want to say our emoji is equal to whatever was passed in, which should be a string, and I want to say dot substring retrieves a substring from this instance. The substring starts at the specified character position and continues to the end of the string. I think this is overloaded, and I'm wondering if I can say 0 to 1. So I'm going to say starting at character 0, go 1 character, but I'm hoping it's glyphs and not characters. If this doesn't work, I'm completely undoing all of this and going back to the way it was, if it actually counts as multiple characters. Okay, so let's test it. So let's go to, what did you see? I already wrote outcome for you. Sorry, there's no to do here. That outcome is done. It's either win, loss, or tie. Yeah? If we go to program CS, wait, this can't work because I can't instantiate a throwable object. So do y'all want to do paper, rock, or scissors? Paper, all right. What does it mean that paper is a throwable object? What are we using here? It starts with an I and rhymes with inheritance. It means we're using inheritance. How do we denote that in C#? Paper inherits from throwable object. Well, colon, throwable object. Boom. You feeling it? So this means paper is a throwable object. As soon as we do this, you'll note we get this error. Paper doesn't implement the inherited abstract member dual. That's not good. So let's fix it. I mean, right? Let's quick fix this guy. Implement abstract class. So what this has done for us is we are now going to fill in the blank that we left in our abstract class. Abstract class didn't know how to do dual. We do now. So let's see how we could do this. So we don't want to throw a not implemented exception. We're going to implement it. What's the logic that applies to paper? If the other thing, what is it about the other thing that lets us determine if it's a win, loss, or tie? The other thing, I'm going to show you some new syntax here. It's a little complex, okay? So hang with me. It's the word is. So if the other thing is paper, that's an easy one. Then what? So we want to return outcome.tie. You could say else if, but you don't even need the else in this case because the only way to get here is if you didn't return already. So if O is what? Rock? What? Paper beats rock, so this would be a win, right? So that's called outcome.win, semicolon. I think I'm getting this warning. Do you get this warning too? I think it's because rock has not yet been called a subclass of throwable objects. So thanks, C#. Last case here, O is a scissors. Why can I not spell? What am I doing wrong? Oh, I haven't even made it yet. Oh, but I did make rock for you. I wanted you to get some practice making that. So you see the issue here. I think you should have to do it.
I don't see it. You should do it.
In this case, we want to return loss, outcome.loss. And I don't know, don't hate me. You're hating me, aren't you? This to me seems like a pretty good time to not use curlies. I know I told you never to do this, but there's only one line that's going to come after it. And if you just have one line after the if statement, you don't have to use curlies. They're all return statements, so they're never going to go anywhere. So to me, this feels a little cleaner. Do you think so? Okay, you do it your way. And I don't know, if we want to code super defensively, we could down here say, we could like throw a new exception. I don't even know what exception, like basically this is impossible. It has to be a paper, rock, or scissors. How would you ever get here? Does that make sense? So there's not a, I don't know if there's a built-in, I'm just looking through here. These are exception classes that are already built in for different scenarios. This is, I just want to, here, I'm going to throw a new exception that says this should never happen, which is not a great exception message because if it happened, then it clearly happened. Okay, so this is the essence of how to make a paper. All right, y'all walk me through this. I'm not, you tell me what to type, somebody, in scissors. Chuck Norris is just in the interfaces one. I didn't put him in this one. Can we, it bothers me that this isn't going to build, and I really want it to build. How do I make a scissors class? Somebody tell me what to type. Public, class, scissors. Am I done? Colon, throwable object. You just threw that down. Okay, we have the same issue here. Scissors is inheriting from an abstract class, which means we have to implement the abstract method. That one abstract method is dual. To me, the easiest way is to click quick fix and then implement the abstract so that this way you know that absolutely, for certain, you got the right method signature. Notice this, I didn't emphasize this year. When you override a method from your superclass, even if it's an abstract method, you still have to use the override keyword. So if you don't, like you can never accidentally override something because you got to use this keyword. For what it's worth, because I didn't mention it before, if you have a method in a superclass and you want to make it overridable in a subclass, then you have to put the keyword virtual in the superclass. So if a method can be overridden, you're overriding it, you're providing a new meaning, then you have to mark it as either abstract or virtual in a superclass. And then in the subclass, you'll always use override. So you very much have to exactly, explicitly opt into this. You can't accidentally override something. Okay. So actually, I'm just going to leave this here because this will build. It just, right, will be wrong. So now I'm going to .NET build and make sure that this, would like to at least see that inheritance, the project should build even though the unit test should fail. Hey, that's a lower number than before.
Terminal.
Control and tilde. You're welcome. I'm going to go ahead and do this same thing for rock to kind of complete that so that now they're all three children of the throwable object. Hey, and now I'm down to 162 errors. Doesn't that feel good? Yeah. Okay. What questions do you have about this inheritance program? No question is too dumb. I want you to understand it. This is the place where I want us to talk, not, to each other when we're outside this room. Yes? Sure. Did you find it? Right.
Decided mark emoji as default emoji.
No, that's fine. I don't know. I don't know. It might break my unit test if they do test for that, which
it'll be pretty easy to just remove the question mark emoji. I just thought like having the default emoji unknown.
maybe. If it doesn't break the unit test, I guess I'm okay. But I want to say, in the real world, when somebody gives you requirements, you follow them even if you think they're dumb, or if this is what was agreed upon by the team.
Yeah, it's just, I wasn't sure if it was agreed upon that it had to.
Yeah. I don't know if I test it. I should if I'm making good unit tests, because that's a case, that's a condition. Brandon?
What is the O in the paper?
Okay. The O is the other object. So probably maybe other would be a better name for this. So it's like you're doodling some other throwable object. Is other clearer? So it's the other one that's passed in. Maybe it will be helpful here. I'm going to go into Program CS, and let's actually try this out. So it should be paper that kind of works. So I'm going to say paper is equal to a new paper. Oh, I actually have an issue, I think. How did I do this? How do I pass in an emoji? I'm saying the throwable object has an emoji character, but there's no way, it has an emoji parameter that you can pass in its constructor, but there's no way of passing it in through paper. So you'd either have to say paper.emoji is equal to, and then pass in the paper emoji. Don't I have that in the in this somewhere? Yeah, this. So I'm going to copy that. But you notice this. I have this ability to pass in the paper emoji through paper, and I think this is better form. Why didn't I define that? Did I not say paper was supposed to have a constructor? Oh, I did. I was so smart in the past. So dumb now. Okay, so you see, I need to be able to pass in that paper emoji there. When I do this, it says paper doesn't contain a constructor that takes one argument. How dare you? You gave me no. This is the compiler talking to me. I'm channeling the compiler. You never told me that paper would be taking a parameter. So we need to do that. So in paper, I'm in paper, I want to have another constructor for paper that takes in a parameter. You want to use CTOR again? It just is a shortcut to save us from typing public paper and then the parameters. In this case, we have a string emoji parameter. As I've defined this here, I think this means this is required. You must pass in an emoji when you make a paper. So you can't. There's no parameterless constructor anymore. And what this is going to do is instantiate. We need to pass this emoji to our constructor, to the constructor of our superclass. And the fancy way of doing that here is to use the base colon base and then pass the emoji up. So I don't think I've taught you this before, but maybe we've seen it. But this base keyword, it can appear in a couple different contexts, but it allows us to call our base class, which base is another word for superclass or parent class. So do you see this pattern? I do think this is new. But when you have parameters that you need to pass in to the your base class, this is the way to do it. We don't have to do it because we made that throwable object. Its parameter was optional, right? Basically, you could put in nothing and it would just say quote, quote. But if you had a required parameter in your superclass, then how would you pass it in? And you'd have to do this, because you'd have to then explicitly pass in parameters to your superclass like so. So now, I did say here, so we're passing in an emoji, we're also setting the name to paper, okay? So I'm going to say name equals, this feels a little weird, but okay. Just, I want you to set its name to actually be the string paper. Now I think paper is actually done. I'm going to get rid of this to do. And now in program, I can do this, creating a paper object. And let's see if I console.writeLine, well, let's go ahead and print out paper. What should it mean to print out paper? You know what should be printed? I copy pasted it from the Google Doc. I think you could probably get it from anywhere that you can get emojis from. Just copy paste it. You can't. Huh? Sure didn't print to the command line, did it?
Well, it did the first part of the.
Did it though?
That's what it looks like. It's the broken only part.
Yeah. I'm going to change this. I think my hack was not good. So we learned more about emojis today than I ever cared to know. Okay, so that whole thing that I was trying to do, only broke it because it really does count glyph numbers and string character numbers differently. So will you allow me to, there's probably some way of doing this to make sure that there's only one emoji submitted, but I don't want to do it. Can you do that for me? So we're taking this back to the easy, simple way, no validation. So emoji just has a get and a set, semicolon. Sorry about that. I thought I could be clever. Shouldn't try to be clever, not in front of a group of people, and when you've never tried it before. Okay, so now when we take it back to this super simple emoji, it's going to handle it correctly. And still going to print out the paper, even to the console. Yeah, printing out that paper emoji. So I'd also like to print out paper.dual, and I only have a paper, so let's put in another paper. What should this print out? Paper.dual paper. If we did it right, it should print out a tie. Hey, it does.
Why would instead of just doing the same thing we did is that
It's a fine thought. Yep, it's very reasonable. I'm not changing it. I'm not going to do that change. I see how for those you are like pretty locked into it should be paper, and there's really only one paper emoji, I guess. Sure. So what I changed about paper was just eliminating all of my custom validation on emoji and just making it an automatic property where you just say public string emoji get set. We don't need the private backing field. We don't need the getter and the setter. Since I don't know how to do the just make it one character thing. Was that? Oh, my bad. This is paper. Okay. Yes.
What do you do to define the range?
You say dash dash project, and then the name of the project. Sure. Yeah, good call. Okay. Can we? I would like to move to interfaces. Are you with me? Okay. Got that. Let's think about the iThrowable interface. How do we create the iThrowable interface? Let's reference our document to see what the requirements are. We still have outcome, win, loss, tie, which I think I already gave to you. We say there's an iThrowable interface that has properties, name and emoji, that's familiar, sorry, and a method called dual that takes in an iThrowable that I called O. So, you ready for this? This is some pretty complex syntax. Public interface iThrowable. You see what we did there? We did not use the word class, we used the word interface. You good, Caleb? Ronaldo? It was shocking, wasn't it? Whew. Now we define the things that a thing has to have to be throwable according to my definition, which is two properties and a method. I think I can actually just do regular, this regular property syntax. So name with a get and a set, and an emoji with a get and a set. And then lastly, I need that method, which was like public, I forgot what it's called, public outcome dual. And it takes in an iThrowable, semicolon. Now, notice this, in an interface, I think you don't actually have to use the word public. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. The reason you don't have to is it only makes sense for it to be public if it's in an interface. Let me set that the other way. If it's in an interface, it only makes sense for it to be public. Like you're saying here, what does it mean to conform to this interface? It means you got to have these things. If it's not accessible because it's private, then it doesn't conform to this interface. So an interface is inherently public, is what I'm saying. So you don't have to do that. A class is inherently private. So that's iThrowable. Let's go to our friend Paper. And Paper implements the iThrowable interface. What's the syntax to say that in C#? I implement an interface. Colon. Well played. So it's the same syntax, and the way that you know it's an interface is generally it should start with an I. All right. So notice now I'm saying that a paper essentially is an iThrowable. It implements that interface. The sentence still works. It is an iThrowable. It's saying, hey, you said you implemented iThrowable. You're a liar because you don't have a name, you don't have an emoji, you don't have a dual method. You see it? So we don't want to be liars. So we can accept this quick fix, implement interface. And now we get the gross implementation of all of these three things. Okay, you ready for this? Done. We have now implemented the name property. It's fine for it to just be the default property. If we want to be really good, maybe we should initialize it to quote quote. Same for here. We're just going to have a default getter and a default setter. Yeah. And let's go ahead and set that equal to nothing, quote quote. And then this is our logic in dual. Okay. What are we going to do here? What does it mean to dual? We're in paper. If the other, what's our logic? Is. Oh, sorry, I didn't call it other. I call it O. I'm going to call it other. Just to be clear, is checking the class, the data type of this other thing. So we're saying if the class of this guy, other, is the paper class, that's what our check is on. You with me? Which is really more resilient than looking at is the name equal to paper? Because if we misspelled paper, then it would break, right? If we said if other.name equals paper, that would be not as that would be more error prone. So if the other is paper, what do we want to return? Yeah? I think I'm going to do it this way again. If you're thinking about it, also, how is this going to be different than what we put in paper in the other project, the inheritance project?
The only difference.
What's the difference in the logic? There's not any, except for Chuck Norris, who complicates everything. So this is me, and I realize, oh wait, this is the exact same logic. I'm not going to repeat myself. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this and take it to the other paper because this is the same. Let's see. There's also the same thing here where scissors isn't defined. We also have this other thing here. If other is Chuck Norris, then that's a loss, right? That's always a loss. That's our rule. If you get something else, if something else is throwable and it's not one of those four, then we get that exception because it should never happen. We don't have rules for any other throwables at this moment. Questions? Concerns on this guy? There is a lot of duplication between these two, and it's just the difference between, like on the whole, do you see this difference? It's very small. Oh, well, there's one. We're not done with this. We need it to string as well. I'm saying that every throwable overrides to string. Oh wait, I don't have my constructor either. Okay, hang on. Let's get it. We have a constructor where we pass in a string emoji, and in the constructor we want the big E emoji equal to the little e emoji. Notice we can't offload this to our parent class because there is no parent class. The other thing is we're doing this goofy name thing where now the name should be equal to paper. So that's in our constructor. Because we don't have a class hierarchy, we didn't inherit a toString. We have to write the toString in every throwable. So to me, this should go at the bottom. That's just my convention. So I want to have a public override and toString. And how do we what's the to string for an I throwable? It's just like what the other one was. It's the emoji property. Yeah. So this is what it means to return that string. Does this constructor make sense? We take in an emoji. It looks very similar to the other one. And what I hope you're seeing is that because we didn't have an abstract class, inheritance, we have to recreate all of the things, which isn't that much. But we had to create the emoji property and the name property. You have to recreate that in every iThrowable, every class that implements iThrowable. You're gonna have to override to string in every class that implements iThrowable. Whereas in the other way, in the inheritance way, we got that for free, and we didn't have to override to string in paper, rock, and scissors because our parents' implementation took care of it for us. Now I will say, I think this is new to me. I think there may now be a way of implementing methods in an interface, but I'm trying this. Let's see. I don't really trust that. Yeah, don't do that. I'm not sure that that's actually overriding it as much as it's hiding the other one. Okay, so I think this gives you some really good guidance on how to do the interface and inheritance projects. The line segment and shapes. We'll talk about some more next time, but I think you should do them before coming to class, or attempt to do them, and bring your intelligent questions, because I don't want to spend the whole time next time. I'm not going to spend the whole time next time doing that. We're going to start looking at the next chapter in the book. But I'm happy to walk through any questions you have about that. There's definitely a thing in here that I have not taught you, specifically the I comparable and the I equatable. So I definitely want to walk through that to teach you that. Let me know as you guys have questions. If you're going to ask questions, you can ask me one-on-one. You can ask it on Discord, but just don't I guess, if we need to see a bunch of your code, I don't want you to paste your whole file in Discord and give that away to somebody else. You with me? All right, see you guys. Take good care.